conjunction with the League and the Downtown Bangor Partnership, I welcome you to the Candidates Forum for those running for Bangor School Committee. All candidates for the seat whose petitions have been received and verified by the city clerk were invited to participate, and all 4 showed up, and we're very grateful to you. Candidates are seated in alphabetical order because I'm a retired librarian, not in the order they will appear on the ballot. Candidates drew for the order that they will give their introductory remarks. After that, the moderator will shuffle the order so no one is always first or last. I want to thank city staff, especially David Warren and his staff for technical support, and Lisa Goodwin and the clerk's office for the very fair, safe, and efficient elections that they provide to the city of Bangor. The forums will be available on the city's Zoom site and recorded and available on the city and the League of Women Voters of Maine's website after the event. The public submitted questions before, but if you are here in person, please give your written questions to Ken or Susanna, and they will bring them to me. All questions will be read by the moderator. The public will not be asked to speak. The answers to public questions is limited to 1 minute. The forum is a nonpartisan event designed to allow Bangor residents to learn more about the candidates in this election. Please do not distribute any literature, buttons, signs, etc. in the council chambers, but there is a table outside if anyone wants to put anything out there. Also, we ask audience members to refrain from audio or video recordings. Again, as I said, it is recorded and available online. Please limit audience reaction until the end of the forum, where we do then urge you to cheer loudly for your candidates. And now, let's hear from our candidates. Candidates, when you're ready to speak, if you could turn your microphones on and a green light will come on. And then when you're finished speaking, if you could turn them off. Our timer this year is Sue Hawes, who is a member of City Council and also a member of the League of Women Voters. She will give you notification when you have 15 seconds left, 10 seconds left, and 5 seconds left. We are strict with time, so when she tells me to say stop, I will say stop and ask you to stop at that time. So let us begin with introductory remarks from all the candidates. And Laura Otis, I believe you are first.
My name is Laura Otis. I have the honor to be elected to your Bangor. I am a mom of 3, a former resource manager for the mentally ill and unhoused, and an active community and school volunteer with a passion for developing and implementing enrichment activities for our local schools, including the Fruit Street School Garden Program and a 2024 district-wide second grade field trip to Rogers Farm. You can find out more about my qualifications and vision for the school board online on my profile on Ballotpedia, a really awesome nonprofit, nonpartisan resource that everyone should know about. But I would like to use this time to share my personal motivation with you and what drives me. I am here running for a school board seat to be the adult in the decision-making room that I wish I had. I know what it's like to feel unseen or overlooked, to get by but not really thrive, to be unmeasurable by a standardized system. I know how it feels to be lost in plain sight. I know how life-changing it can be, however, when someone takes the time, looks you in the eye, and says, I believe in you. You have potential. You have a gift, and gives you the confidence and empowerment to believe in yourself. It's that moment that I seek for our kids. I believe that every child, your child, has a gift, a talent, a spark that needs nurturing, and a contribution that needs sharing. That is why I am here. To advocate relentlessly, to orchestrate a community's call to action, because we all have a part to play. To let every child know, to let your child know that we believe in their unique ability and that we will work tirelessly to make the system fit them, not force them to fit the system. This is urgent, and I know it's personal for many of us, and nothing feels more important in this moment than investing in our kids and showing them that the future is whatever they make it, and we will be there believing in them every step of the way.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you very much. Our second speaker is Frank Casella. Frank?
What's going on, Bangor? My name is Frank Casella, and I'm your favorite candidate running for school board. This is what you'd hear if you watch some of the videos I posted on Facebook, where I discuss a lot of the issues that I find to be concerning or just of general interest about the school. So a little bit about me. I'm the product of a school system that pushes college. So graduating high school is 99, it was pre 9/11. So it's just go to college and figure it out. So I went to college. I went to college for mechanical engineering. Didn't like that. Transferred colleges, transferred majors, went to teaching. When it came to the student teaching portion, I wasn't a real big fan because how could I teach somebody when I didn't know what I was doing myself? I felt like a fraud. So eventually I ended up with a degree in chemistry. Then I didn't want to pipette all my life. So I went to master's school, got a graduate degree in clinical research, published some papers. Then I realized I was either too qualified for a job or not qualified enough. So following that, I did the next thing. I went to medical school for a year where I finally said, this is enough. I can't do it anymore. All this was in Philadelphia, which is where I met my wife. We moved up here 8 years ago because just big city life wasn't where you're going to find like your American dream and your happy life. So she's a Maine native, so I don't want you to all to think that some Flatlander is coming in to try and tell you how to run your life. But Bangor, she always said they had great schools and great athletic opportunities for kids. So this is where we decided to settle. So even Maine's own state data shows that our schools are not performing as well as they should. So I think we need to address that for whatever reason. I'm not sure the resounding issues. We also need to address the changes in technology. When I was in high school, I was told calculators weren't going to be a thing, but we carry around the summation of human technology in our hands, and we need to figure out how to address that. So, guess that wraps it up.
We're using technology here. Benjamin Speed. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Mallory Cook. I'm sorry.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mallory Cook, and I'm a resident of the Fairmount neighborhood and have a first grade son at 14th Street School. I come to this work after teaching for a decade. I taught high school at Herman High School, or I taught English at Herman High School, and I currently work at the Maine Education Association in Augusta as the Director of Training and Early Educator Engagement, where I develop professional learning opportunities for educators across the state and provide supports for educators in their first 0 to 10 years to ensure they remain in the profession. It's in this role that I have really become sort of aware of some of these state level issues and policies that we could really be implementing at the local level that could help to improve our school district. My three sort of core priorities, if I were to be elected into this position, would be to support Bangor students and educators, ensure safe and welcoming schools for all, and foster strong family, caregiver, and community partnerships. If we look at our demographic data in Bangor over the past 10 years or so, you see a very interesting sort of shift. So from 2017, 18 all the way to 24, 25, our number of homeless students, multilingual students, students with disabilities, students experiencing homelessness have increased tremendously. And ways in which we can meet the needs of these students, which will lift up all of our students, is to invest in high quality training and supports for our educators, which will meet the needs of those students. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Benjamin Speed.
Yes, I drew fourth. I'm last on the ballot, but that's okay. I appreciate holding the forum tonight. Thank you to the League of Women Voters. It's a wonderful organization. When I was a teacher in public education, we would have mock elections and we would go to the League of Women Voters as a source of truth. So I really appreciate that. And I want to thank the other candidates for being here tonight. I'm looking forward to hearing their story and input as well. If you didn't see us before tonight, before the meeting, we were all talking, chatting, and having a great conversation. I think it's a good demonstration of how folks can get along from different perspectives and different viewpoints. I'm looking forward to hearing others' viewpoints. So the campaign that I'm running, the slogan that I have on my signs is called Bridging Students, Families, and Communities. And I look forward to explaining that a little bit more tonight through policies that I support and educational values. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I taught in public education for 14 years at a career in technical education nearby in multimedia design. While I was a teacher there, I also was an association member and negotiated 2 contracts on behalf of the teachers. I since have gone into healthcare public relations, where I just was accredited in PR and public relations, learning skills as a communicator as well as a collaborator. I still teach, though. I'm still a teacher. In fact, I have a class tonight at 7, so I hope the students are ready. I'll be running out of here right at 6:30, so I apologize if I'm not able to shake your hand on my way out. I also have a family. My wife, Serena, was a homeschool mom. She homeschooled both of our children, my son up until 8th grade, my daughter until the 5th grade. My son is an artist. He's with the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater, and my daughter is a sophomore at Bangor High School. I want to just wrap up by saying that I'm a lifelong learner, and I think I bring a unique perspective to the school committee from my background. I love to learn, I love to teach, and I look forward to sharing all of my policy beliefs with you tonight. Thank you.
Sorry. All right. Then each candidate got 2 questions that they could prepare an answer for. And the first one is, why do you think public education is important? And Laura, let's start with you.
The merit of public education is proven not just ethically, but economically. It is the only institution designed to reach every single child, regardless of circumstance, and research affirms that quality K through 12 schooling is the primary engine of social mobility. When we invest in our schools, we generate enormous public return, higher wages, lower rates of unemployment, better health. Studies show that investing in quality education is far more cost-effective for our community than managing the social and economic consequences of undereducation. When we invest in our public schools, we are making the most powerful and measurable down payment on Bangor's collective future. But those statistics and figures only show half the map. To reach these outcomes, we must nurture the whole child beyond standardized testing. The latest data emphasizes that non-academic skills like self-regulation, teamwork, and a sense of belonging are essential foundations for all academic and career success. This is the very heart of the work that I've done through our school enrichment programs, the school gardens, the clubs, the after-school field trips. These aren't simply extras, they are vital research-backed inputs that develop crucial social and emotional intelligence. This is where public education can really shine, because in its inherent design of equitable access for all is the very diversity that makes our city so colorful and alive. Public education is an opportunity to champion and celebrate our differences, and that is how you build community. So let's work together to ensure that we are building a system worthy of our children's potential.
Mallory?
Sure. So as Laura said, public education is really the great equalizer. So there are very few institutions that bring together anyone from any background really without leaving anyone behind. And that's what our public schools really do. if we look at the division that kind of exists within our country and within a lot of different public spaces, one place where that does not exist is inside public schools. If you walk inside a public school on any given day, you do not see that division because educators on any given day are creating a space where any sort of different perspective, any sort of different identity can coexist, and students are given the skills and the capacity and the knowledge to understand what makes people different and what makes people unique, so that they can go on to be productive members of society.
Benjamin, do you need the question?
No, I think I'm all set. Thank you. I've thought about this a lot as a teacher, as a parent. That's the angle I'm coming from here, and also a lifelong learner. I believe that what it comes down to is quality of life, right? And so public education, I would agree with what was previously said, is about being an equalizer. It's one of our democratic pillars. But it does come down to a couple of things that make up that quality of life that I spoke of. And the first is access to opportunity, whether it be literacy in reading, writing, math, science, or the arts. But also it's an investment. It's an investment for our community, but also for our individuals. Lastly, it's important to build critical thinking skills for our communities, right? So it's not necessarily just important to know what to think, but how to think. It's also important to be inclusive to all learners from all backgrounds. I'm somebody who grew up in poverty myself and actually lived with food insecurity and transportation insecurity, as well as housing insecurity. I'm fortunate not to have that concern, and I'm able to count myself fortunate. But it's certainly something that I recognize that is a struggle within our community. I also want to talk about other ways of learning within public education, which is through hands-on experiential learning. And that's something that I've seen firsthand in career and technical education, as well as in our homeschooling that we have with our children. I also want to stress the importance of the arts, whether it's creating, whether it's learning about the process, or whether it's crafting. I also think that it's important to stand up for teachers and students and support families from different perspectives. And again, just to summarize, the quality of life is what it comes down to for me. Thank you.
Frank.
All right. Are you ready? All right, so my response is quite a bit different. So hopefully if everyone knows the difference between positive rights and negative rights, this is going to ruffle some feathers. Education is not a right, but it's a duty as a community to teach the next generation just some basics. Like, we're not succeeding at teaching them math and science from, even like I said, Maine's own data. We need to do better to raise the next generation and just teach them some of the basics on how they can get through life. Like I said earlier, all the information you want, you carry it around in your pocket. So if you need to teach them how to like do some basic math, how to understand science, how to read, and that will go tremendously far for getting you ahead in life. Like I said, I don't think we're doing as well as we could for the next generation, but I think there's a few changes where we can improve on that and, just do better for our children. So like I said, it's like information's easy to come by. It's how to think and how to think critically is where we need to go. Yep.
And the second question that we sent to all the candidates was, in light of AI and smartphones, what policies do you think are needed to foster learning and critical thinking in our schools? And Ben, we'll start with you.
Sure. Thank you for that question. I appreciate it. It's a hot topic, right, within the schools when it comes to technology, smartphones, as well as artificial intelligence is something we're talking about in healthcare. It's something we talk about in education as a teacher. I know that it's an important thing to recognize. So the short answer is we need guardrails, right? So when it comes to policies, we need to make sure that we have guardrails. The saying that I've read time and time again that I agree with is that we need to make sure that we're the pilot, that we're the pilot, not the co-pilot, right? So we want to make sure that relationship doesn't flip, where we become the co-pilot and our technology becomes the pilot. But to step aside from that, I think it's even more important to recognize and emphasize that we need critical thinking skills, even more importantly. We need to have face-to-face discussions, and sometimes we need to put the phones down, and that's okay. The United Nations just debated this, and they had arguments for and against. There's a lot of things that AI can do that are fantastic, right? It can be a wonderful tool. It's a lot like when you have carpenters that went from hand tools to power tools, right? And we can see the advances there. But with that, we lose something as well. So there's a danger that comes with technology as well. AI has a promise to cure diseases, but it also has a concern of turning into mass surveillance. It can expand food production, but it also can be a huge energy consumption at the same time, which is a sustainability issue. And in education, it can accelerate learning, but it also can spread misinformation. So I think, again, we need to have problem solvers, we need to have guardrails in place, and we need to ensure safety and ethical values are considered with this technology. Thank you.
Frank?
AI and technology is one of the things I think is most overlooked. Back when the home computer came out, it was joked that it was just going to be a novelty that wasn't going to be used for anything. And if you've been paying attention to the improvements in AI in just like the last 2 years, it's gotten very, very impressive with its capabilities. It's making videos and it basically can do all of the research for you for yourself. So I think it needs to be incorporated into education so it becomes a regular tool, the same way we look at a computer, because it does get things wrong in its current iterations, but it's probably not going to in the near future. If you can integrate it into learning, you'll be able to confidently use it as a tool and not let it exploit you by its inefficiencies. So they even recently just found something where they're trying to determine what a certain plant was, and then they found out that the AI could detect cancer. So it's going to massively change our whole world in like the next 5-10 years. And we need to raise our kids and teach the kids on how to properly use this tool so they don't get taken advantage of and don't become wholly dependent on technology in general. They should be able to use it confidently and know when to use it, because otherwise they're just going to become like the version of people in that movie WALL-E, where you just rely on technology and let it do everything for you. So we still want people who are self-sufficient enough where they can handle it if the power goes out or if they lose their phone, but also confident enough to use technology and not let it take advantage of them. All right.
Laura?
So like a lot of people in this room, I grew up in the age of the encyclopedia. And that if I had my question for my parents, I had a lot of questions for my parents. And if they didn't have the answer, like, go look it up. I'm like, okay. And so we were prompted with this question, this was the one thing that I wasn't totally sure and confident about. And so I have younger siblings and they educated me on, they're like, oh, well, why don't you use ChatGPT? Why don't you use Google Gemini? Oh, this one's better than that one for XYZ reasons. And I thought I would give it a try. But I also understand that there needs to be this fundamental, if there's nothing else that a kid takes from school, I would hope that it's a strong sense of discernment to understand how to ask questions, what questions to ask, and to know when a source is not all that it seems, and to understand like the most important the most important part of what I got out of prepping for this question was that I used AI to help me assemble the data. I used it as a way to find the sources, but I didn't use their summaries. Instead, I used it to find the sources, read the source myself, and take from that the kernels of truth that were there. And that's when I asked my 10-year-old, how do you see AI in the classroom? His first response was, I don't know. But then when I asked him, like, well, think about what if you're using it for to write an essay? He's like, well, obviously I'd have to write that myself. I'm like, yes, that's right. And then I was like, well, what if it's a research paper? It's like, you'd use that to find the sources, but I still have to write it myself. I'm like, yes. And I was like, well, maybe they already understand how to do that.
Thank you so much. And Mallory.
While I don't have any specific policy recommendations, I do have some thoughts on criteria that should be used if the board were to consider AI policies or reconsider cell phone policies to really make sure that we maintain a focus on, the collaborative nature of education and the importance of sort of interpersonal learning. So any tool that the district invests in, we want to make sure that it's for the enhancement of education, and it's something that's research backed. And, as Ben said, we want to make sure that we are not the experiment. We want to make sure that someone else has experimented with it. We also want to make sure that it isn't a platform that is inherently biased, because there is a lot of bias that exists within artificial intelligence. We would want to make sure that the district updates data protection policies to account for a lot of the data collection that happens within artificial intelligence. What are these companies doing with that data? How are they storing it? How long do they keep it? And things of that nature. And then lastly, we need to make sure that our educators are aware of both the platforms that the district might be adopting, but then also what AI exists out there that our students are going to absolutely use if it's at their disposal. And instead of saying, don't use that, because they certainly are going to use it and they're going to learn how to use it on their own, which can sometimes be dangerous, really thinking about how we can get them to think critically about those tools. So if they use the Gemini or the Chat GPT, think critically about, okay, what sources did they give you? Let's evaluate those sources. Which ones are the most credible? What are the sort of flaws of the sources that it gave you, and things of that nature?
You. We are now going to go to the questions from the audience, or questions that were sent in ahead of time. Questions from the public. 1 minute. Technology. Sorry. Candidates get 1 minute to answer these questions. And we'll start with Mallory. What was the most valuable thing you learned in your education K through 12 experience? And do you think it's being taught in the Bangor school system now?
I would absolutely say that the most valuable thing that I was taught were my literacy skills. So the ability to read and the ability to write. It's a human right to be able to have those skills. And they, my love for literature is something that gives me the ability to escape every single day. It gives me the ability to connect with my son. It gives me the ability to continue my own learning every single day. And that is absolutely something that is taught in the Bangor system at every single level. My son started kindergarten in the system last year, and it was, I was astounded at the literacy skills that he came home with right in the first few weeks.
Hank,
Same question?
want me to reread?
No, but it's the same question.
Yes.
I think the most valuable thing I've learned is problem solving. Is if you're given a task and not told how to do it, you're expected to figure it out on your own. That worked out great when I was in college and high school. You'd learn how to do something, but then like instead of being instructed exactly how to do it, if you have a general understanding on what needs to happen next, you can figure out how to do all sorts of other problems just based on that one ability to solve just a simple task on your own. So I think instead of being able to follow just like a checklist on how to do something, you can see if something isn't right, you can skip ahead or go back and problem solve from there. So I think that's one thing that is greatly lacking in a lot of people is just the ability to change direction based on a small problem.
Ben,
Yes, thank you for this question. I think the number one thing that I learned in K through 12 is confidence. There were times as a student I didn't have confidence, and there's times that I struggled. As I mentioned, coming from a family with food insecurity, I can remember in junior high really struggling, and it was a teacher that set me aside and said, "You can do this. I believe in you." And I think that's something that the Bangor School Department does very well. I can see it firsthand with my own daughter who's in the school system. But beyond that, beyond K through 12, one of the things that my principal at Woodland High School mentioned, James Frost, he would encourage the students to go beyond Washington County, go out into the world and explore, and then come back and bring those skills back. And I think that fits the vision of what Bangor Schools does as well. Thank you. Mhm.
do you need the question repeated?
No, that's all of my good. I think the most valuable thing I learned in K through 12 wasn't necessarily something I was explicitly taught, but rather something that was nurtured within me, and that's to ask questions. I was a very argumentative student, and I wouldn't just take the facts if something was confusing or if something didn't quite fit my expectation, and I would challenge that. And if the response was made more sense than what I previously thought, like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. And that sort of adaptability to new information. And I think that was, there were some teachers that were more appreciative of me pushing back than others. But to have that persistence and not just accept what's given, but to push for more.
Great. Our next question, and Ben Speed, we'll start with you. Oh, did you? I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. What do you consider to be the greatest challenge facing teachers and administrators in schools today?
The greatest challenge facing schools, teachers,
And administrators,
and students.
sure.
Yeah. So I think what our schools need right now is a lot of community support. And what we're seeing is an opportunity for Bangor schools to bring that support together. There are declining enrollment numbers within the school. There are outside pressures on classroom curriculum. And then there are also pressures within families. And so I think it's important to recognize the needs of our community and the needs of our students and families. So the mental health, the well-being, food insecurity, transportation security, housing security, those are things that we all need to be aware of and to collaborate with families on. Thank you.
Laura?
The greatest challenging facing teachers and administration today, I think, is funding. I think we're constantly asking them to do more with less. And I think that there needs to be a thorough assessment of how funds are spent. That needs to be transparent so people have trust and faith in the system, and see the value in what they're investing in. And I really believe that the resources are there, and we have such a strong community here. That's kind of the beauty of Bangor, that it's big enough but small enough, that we can really pull together if there's a way to just network all of our resources and everyone pitch in, fill in the gaps.
You. Mallory?
Thank you. I think one of the number one issues facing educators is student behaviors, which are indicative of a number of problems, from staffing shortages to mental health challenges to schools being under-resourced. There was a Maine behavior study done about 2 years ago now, where over 3,000 educators responded, and 55% of them said they are dealing with crisis level behaviors at least once monthly. And an NEA study revealed that educators are more worried about student behavior than salary, and that's a union survey. So I think that, putting a lot of time and energy into understanding how we can better support students and equip educators to support students is really important.
Frank?
Honestly, I don't know what the greatest challenge is, but I'd like to know, like, why aren't the students learning? Why aren't they performing as we want them to? Do the teachers need some extra assistance? Do they need less busy work behind the scenes to just teach? Do they need more assistance? Like, I really honestly want to know, is like, is the way the curriculum supposed to be taught, has that changed? Have they noticed a way that kids aren't learning it? Because, I mean, for example, I remember math was taught one way when I was in high school, and then it changed, and I'm not sure, like, is that preventing students from learning? Is there anything they need to figure out, like, what works better? Like, what does the data say? Like, how can we change it so that they're actually learning? Because I'm sure the teachers have their own opinion, and then administrators might have their own. So I'd like to know what actual teachers think and what they need to be able to teach the kids the basics.
Okay, Mallory, let's start with you. Please articulate your commitment to the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion. If these are not strong values for you, please articulate the values you hold that will replace them.
So, as a former educator, I hold these values in a very high regard. Every student, every single day, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from, they belong, and they deserve a public education. And I think now more than ever, it is important to make sure that we ensure that school is a safe and welcoming place for them, and that their rights are protected, and that we ensure that they feel that school is a safe place for them.
Frank?
So when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, as Voltaire once said, I actually just heard this the other day, the Holy Roman Empire was neither Holy Roman or an empire. And it kind of just, to me, it excludes everyone. Like, if you go out of your way to be inclusive to everyone and specifically target certain groups, I think you're excluding other individuals, which might not be a part of whatever group you're trying to talk about. So I think you're in the community, just be a part of the community. I think that's pretty good. And that basically covers both your diversity and your inclusion part, just be a part of the community. In terms of equity, I think it should be go back to equality, because I think of equality like given the same opportunities, and then you just put in the work. If you want to do better, then your hard work will do it. And you should be encouraged to work hard and provided whatever resources you need to succeed. So,
Ben,
Thank you for that question. So I do support diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging within the classroom. It's something that I wholeheartedly support. As a teacher of 14 years in public school at a career and technical education center, I worked with a real diverse group of students. And Bangor school community has, I believe, 20% enrollment of minorities. But I also think about diversity when it comes to disability rights as well, and making sure that folks are welcome and feel safe. That's where learning needs to begin. You need to start there at safety. And if somebody doesn't feel safe, then learning can't happen. And so I think that it's important also to not just be a welcoming school district, but also a district that makes sure that students feel like they belong. And there's a difference. You can welcome somebody into your classroom, but do you make them feel as if they belong there? That's important for all of our students.
Laura.
I love this question, and I'm so glad it was asked. And my answer is definitely going to be more than a minute. So whoever asked that question, come find me. If I had to put it in a nutshell, I feel like DI, if you really have to bottle it down, is really choosing humanity over fear, and that it's okay to be uncomfortable. Let's talk about it, and that if you shove everything into the corner, into the darkness, because you're afraid of what might come up, or because it makes you feel weird, then that's where things fester, and that's where emotions kind of overtake rationality. We need to just have the conversations. And I want to make sure that all viewpoints are shared, and in a healthy discourse, dispassionate discourse, civilly executed. And I think that's the most important skill we can give our kids.
Next question is, not all students are college material. What is Bangor doing to prepare these young people to be productive parts of our community? Frank, let's start with you.
this is actually a great question, because I shouldn't have gone to college, but was forced into it. And now I don't think that's a financial burden that, even if you want to go figure it out, take some time off and work first if you want to go to college. But I know we have the programs at UTC. Oddly enough, I just saw there's some other major companies that are starting to just give programs where you can go and learn trades, learn skills. And I think some of the degrees you don't even need to go to college for. Let's say if you want to do marketing or graphic design, if you instead take some of the money that you're going to spend at college and start working on your own, then you can go to an employer with like a body of work. If there's like a company down the street, or like your neighbor's got a lawn care business, do some graphic design or do some marketing for him. That way you can show a skill to an employer, because not everyone needs to go to college. And it's kind of, if you don't need that degree, you're just giving yourself a financial burden, which is completely unnecessary and going to be a hindrance on you for the rest of your life.
Mallory.
If any of you have had the pleasure of visiting United Technology Center, you know that it is a state-of-the-art, beautiful facility. And Bangor has very high enrollment numbers at United Technology Center, with emphasis on getting younger and younger students interested in attending. And so students who attend United Technology Center may decide to go on and do college in their post-secondary endeavors, but they may decide to go on into a trade. And so that is one thing that Bangor is doing to support students who might not have ambitions to go to college. Another thing, I'm not sure if Bangor is doing this or not, but there are opportunities through the Department of Education to do extended learning opportunities, which provide for these opportunities to basically explore a career while in high school. And it's a very organized program, which would be a good opportunity for our students.
Thank you. Laura?
There are lots of ways to get an education. And I had thought about this a lot when I was younger. There wasn't a gap year conversation in my family. It was you are just going. And that was just how things were. That's what the expectation was. But my view of college is sure it's to, help you with your career trajectory, but the core of what college represented to me, and I think a lot of my peers, is really that's where you find yourself. That's where you figure out who you are. That's how you figure out what your purpose is, and that's like a fundamental thing that you can learn well before college. I think having a chance to find yourself in school and see it not just as I need to check this course off, check that course off, but really identify with what you're learning. And having that exposure, that's the key to public education. That's the beauty of it too.
Benjamin?
Thank you. If there's anybody on this at this panel that is a champion for a career in technical education, it's me. I really feel strongly about it as a teacher. I'm a videographer, a photographer, a podcast producer. My son is also somebody who went right from high school into the arts as an artist, and so I think it's important though to reframe and rethink about how we think about career and technical education. It's often a misnomer that they don't go on to school, they don't go on to college, but they do. They go to trade schools, sure, but they also go to universities. I had some of the top flyer academic students in my programs earning college credit through dual enrollment agreements, and it was just an amazing opportunity for them. One of the things that we talk about in career and technical education is rigor and relevance, and I think that the school community outside of CTE can also learn from that. And I also want to add that from a homeschooling perspective, I think that's a great example of how to learn as well. Thank you. I need an.
Next question is very long, so don't press that button. Last Friday, the administration in Washington fired nearly all the employees of the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services, among other departments. These jobs are unlikely to ever return given the administration's rhetoric about dissolving the entire Department of Education. As someone who went to school in the 90s and remembers our parents coaching their children on how to pass as neurotypical because the support services did not exist in many schools back then, I worry about a possibility of returning to a world where parents feel compelled to stealth their children's disabilities through school. What safeguards, if any, would candidates promote and protect as we enter this era of self-regulated school districts to ensure that as many of our children as possible, particularly those who need assistance learning, receive a serviceable education? And Mallory, let's start with you.
I am confident that our educators are trained and qualified to identify if a student presents signs of perhaps having a disability, and would certainly work to ensure that a student is evaluated if they felt that a student needed to be. And I am devastated by those cuts. But one of the things that I've been talking about in my candidacy is the importance of ensuring that, one of the number one staff members working with our students who receive special services would be our education technicians, and really ensuring that as a district, we pour resources into ensuring they are adequately trained to meet the needs of these students, and also perhaps start identifying if they see students presenting with signs of perhaps having a disability as well to support those teachers.
Yeah. Benjamin?
Yes, thank you for that question. I agree with Mallory's response. I think we need to ensure funding for special education. It's something that is special about the Bangor school community. It's important to have these students supported. When knocking on doors and talking with families, I've talked with families who really stress the importance of multiple intelligences, multiple ways to learn something. And so it's really important that we recognize that. And I think we do a good job of that in CTE. As I mentioned, in my previous response, we often would have high flyers within our programs. We also would have one-on-one ed techs, and it was a great way to collaborate with those one-on-one ed techs and with the students as well. We found as a team approach, we were able to differentiate for those students, but we also learned that differentiation worked really well for just about every student. And so that's something that we really need to protect. And I also want to share with talking with folks that they would tell me they didn't realize how good they had in the Bangor School Department until their student graduated. So they called me up and said, really protect those resources.
Laura?
The very first grumblings about closing the Department of Education was truly the impetus for me running. My family has benefited from these interventions and for learning challenges. And I wish that there was something like the universal learning model when I was a kid. My trajectory would have been different. I like where I ended up, but my path was very circuitous and very painful. And I would like to just, skip that part for our kids. The universal learning model, if you're not familiar with it, the idea essentially is to have multiple access points for learning one lesson. The beauty of it is that it would utilize limited resources that we already have, and the teacher wouldn't have to break away from a group to have a one-on-one with a student that needs a different way to approach it, because the way you teach it, it's all different neurodiversity types are able to approach it at once.
And people will be able to talk to you afterwards. Frank?
Well, I think it's important to find out what resources that they need or what they need to succeed and give that to them. Like I said, it's our duty as a community to educate the next generation. And I think if we actually take that to heart, we'll be more nimble and then able to address whatever issues come up a lot faster than Washington was, because it does change depending on who's in there. But we know what we need here in this room. We know what the school district needs, and it's a lot easier to change if something's not working and be a little bit more adaptive to any of the upcoming issues. So I think, like I said, I think it's a duty just to make sure the younger generation learns, because if they're self-sufficient and smart to figure out everything else, that goes a long way.
All right, the next question. Laura, let's start with you. If elected, what is your number one priority for Bangor schools?
Number one priority. I'm trying to pick one. I think the best thing that we can do right now is to unify the sense of community in our district. Right now, there are 10 different schools, and it's not until you get to that 10th one that the east side and the west side really mix. And I think we could do better than that. I think if you have that kind of segregation for long enough, you start developing different cultures, different teaching styles, different learning styles, and then you're going to end up with more conflict and confusion once you get to the high school level. If there could be a, a more central way of communicating what events are going on at different schools and how you can volunteer, I think that's going to really change the sense of community in our area.
Mallory.
If elected, I think one of my number one priorities would be to find out ways that we could intentionally and meaningfully ensure that the district is connecting with families and the community. This is one of the most research-backed ways that we can help with a lot of the issues that we're facing. Last school year, more than a quarter of our students were chronically absent, which means they missed more than 10% of the school year. And engaging families and communities will really help with mitigating that issue. That also helps with academics. It helps with food insecurity, because when students are in school, they're eating 2 meals a day at the school. So I think that that would really just help. And to Laura's point, it brings us all closer together as well.
Thank you.
If elected, I think the biggest priority I would have is figure out where the disconnect is between the teachers and the students, and why aren't they meeting the academic standards that we as a community and the state has put forward? Like, what do they need different? Do they need more time with the students, different curriculum, different ways to teach it? Because right now, I think we're failing the next generation by not giving them a proper education. So I think, is it more money do they need? Do they, that's the biggest thing. If we can't get the next generation to learn, then what are we even doing? I mean, it's basics. Like, we just have to get back to like the fundamentals of teaching, like math, science, and reading. It's, without that, those are like the most important things that a school is supposed to do, to be honest.
Thank you for the question. I think to summarize into one point, it's difficult to choose just one, but learning through doing is something that's really important in my experience with education. Obviously, with career and technical education, with hands-on learning, with the arts, learning a process, learning discipline through the arts, learning how to craft something, having that delayed gratification of working on something for months and months and months, and then showing it off to the public. Having that public audience right outside of the school is a great opportunity. I'll take an example. I mentioned my daughter's on the debate team, and that's a wonderful example. I don't know if everyone knew, but we have state champion debate team. We've had folks go to nationals. That's a great example of academically how we can learn through doing, taking research, taking speaking skills, argumentative skills, and go out into the public and show our kids and our community what we're doing. And then our community can also get behind them. So I think it's all about learning through doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now it's time for your 2 minutes for your closing statements. And Mallory, let's start with you.
Thank you. I appreciate the League of Women Voters for providing this opportunity this evening. I'm just reviewing my notes here to see if there are any things that I did not yet cover. One of the things that I will mention, and I know that this will probably be covered in depth with the city council. I know that as constituents, you all are probably very concerned with property taxes and the school budget. And one of the things that I just wanted to talk about when it comes to Bangor and it comes to our expenditures as a school district. As a city, we are actually below the state average in most categories. And so I just wanted to point that out and talk about how important that is and how fiscally responsible the committee's been, and just share that if elected, I would continue to maintain that fiscal responsibility. And if you have any questions, I am going to hang around here this evening, and I have enjoyed the opportunity to share a little bit about myself this evening. Thank you.
Benjamin?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I want to start by thanking the League of Women Voters for voting, for providing the forum, but also to my fellow candidates. It's been wonderful chatting with them. I look forward to continuing to get to know them. And I want to end by also saying, if there's something that you didn't hear that you have questions about, please reach out to me. I've had coffee with several folks. I've had phone calls. I've met with people. If you go online and search Benjamin Speed for Bangor School Committee, you'll be able to connect with me, and I look forward to that opportunity. And so I want to summarize quickly what I support, just to remind folks that I obviously support promoting career and technical education, funding of the arts, strengthening academic achievement, attracting more families to the Bangor schools, which I think I have a unique perspective through my experience as a teacher, but also as a homeschool family as well. I also want to ensure resources for students, providing access for behavioral and mental health services, and sustaining special ed resources for families. And I'm going to come back to the learning through doing story and narrative that I had, and share a story that I experienced this summer with my son. We had the opportunity to hike the 30 miles of the Appalachian Trail. We wanted to do 100, but we didn't get there. But we did 30, and we were excited about it. And we learned a lot from being on the trail, a lot about ourselves. And again, learning through doing is not just about what's in the classroom, but what's outside the classroom as well, and how you can learn a lot about yourself. I also, this last spring, had a chance to canoe the Kentuskeg. I've done it 12 years in a row. This year I did with my wife, Serena, who's in the audience. Unfortunately, we spilled this year, and she got a little bit cold, but we persevered and we continued on. And so whether it's learning through doing from hiking or canoeing, earning a degree or your certification, it's important to continue to learn. I love to learn. I love to teach. I intend to lead with heart and work hard for the Bangor School Department. I would like your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Laura?
I have three main passions in my life. If once you start having kids, the world kind of comes into a sharp focus, and the things that really matter bubble up to the surface. And my three things are mental health and neurodiversity advocacy, protecting and learning from nature, and empowering kids. My start was in school gardens, getting the kids outside, getting them to be curious, and to stand still for a moment and just think. Like, nobody had the chance to get into the topic of to really get into the topic of smartphones in regard to that, the last prompted question that you gave us. And I see it as kind of, you have to learn long division before you get the luxury of a calculator. And the same kind of idea plays with social skills, that you need to have this strong foundation of interpersonal relationships and how to effectively communicate and connect with someone peer to peer before you take the humanity out of your communication and give yourself the technology to speak through. It's much easier to be cruel through a computer than to be kind in person. And I think that's a huge shortcoming in social development of this next generation of kids. And it's something that I think schools can really fill the gap on. That we can have policies in place that help foster that fundamental foundation of understanding how to find the humanity in each other. Um, and I'm excited to be a part of that culture shift.
Well, just like the rest of my candidates, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and thank the other three for sitting up here and being so civil. I know it's tough to do in these very partisan times. I know it's supposed to be a nonpartisan race, but obviously I've got slightly different views than everybody else. But I think we can all agree that our kids are the main issue. We're trying to make everything better for them. That's literally like why I'm doing this, because honestly, if I didn't have a daughter, I wouldn't be sitting up here. Um, so that's my main thing. I've also found out that 1 minute is not nearly long enough for me rambling, because it turns out I'm a bit of a rambler and just tend to drift off. So if you want any other questions answered, you want a little bit longer response, please reach out to me. You can always just find me on Facebook. I got a bunch of long rambling winded videos on there that you can bore yourself with. But like I said, just happy to be up here and trying to be civil, and just, we might disagree, but like I said, we all come together and trying to do the best for our kids. So thanks to everyone showing up, taking a little effort in some local politics, having fun on a Thursday night. But like I said, we got to find what brings us together instead of what drives us apart. And obviously our kids have something to do with that. So might as well try and put that to use and move on from there and make a better time for them instead of whatever's been going on the last couple of years. I guess that's all I got.
And candidates, I want to thank you all for your belief in the city and for running for office. And audience, these are your candidates: Frank Casella, Mallory Cook, Laura Otis, and Benjamin Speed. Thank you very much. How about you? Okay.
Saturday. Yeah, I got to.
candidate will get a minute to answer the questions from the audience. And we already have this many questions, so I'm sorry, not every question is going to be answered tonight. Very good. Thank you very much. Well, welcome to the League of Women Voters of the Bangor area in association with the Downtown Bangor Partnership to our forum for candidates running for City Council. We have 9 candidates running for 3 seats on City Council. All candidates for this seat were whose petitions have been received and verified by the city clerk were invited to participate. The candidates are seated in alphabetical order, not in the order they will appear on the ballot. Candidates drew for the order for their introductory remarks. After that, the moderator will shuffle the order so that no one will always be first or last. I want to thank very much the city staff, David Warren and his staff, Katie and Mallory, I believe her name is, or Melissa, and Lisa Goodwin, our city clerk, who just runs an amazing election force. They're always efficient and well run. The forums will be available on the city's Zoom site now and recorded and available on the city and the league website after the event. The public submitted questions before the event, and if you are here and you still want to submit questions, Ken and Susanna are here, and please give your questions to them. They will bring them to me. All questions from the public will be written and will be read by the moderator. Questions may be edited or merged with other questions on the same topic. Answers to the public question, the candidate's time is limited to 1 minute. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for an introductory statement. Then each candidate will answer a question that has been sent to them that they prepared an answer for. This forum is a nonpartisan event designed to allow Bangor residents to learn more about the candidates in this election. Please do not distribute literature, buttons, signs, etc. in the council chambers, but you may do so in the hall or outside. You may also, I also ask audience members to refrain from audio or video recording during the forum. Like I said, it will be recorded and available. Please limit audience reaction until the end of the forum, where you are urged to cheer loudly for your candidates. And now we are ready for our forum. And we will start with Mr. Carson.
My name is Daniel Carson.
Yeah, turn it. There you go.
I apologize. I didn't see the button. Good evening. My name is Daniel Carson, and I have spent my career bridging 2 worlds, finance and grassroots organizing. I've managed branches of major banks, gaining firsthand insight and experience into business and finance. And I've dedicated myself to building power for working people as a labor and community organizer. In finance, I learned the skills of leadership and what it takes to build and retain a team of high-quality people capable of exceeding goals. And I've been consistently recognized as a leader in customer service. In my organizing career, I learned the power of solidarity and that when we join together in common cause, we have the power to make change. And for Bangor, that means an improvement in the quality of all of our lives. See, across Bangor, too many working families are being stretched to the breaking point, juggling rising housing costs, low wages, and the daily struggle to make ends meet. But Bangor is a remarkable city, full of resilience and potential. And our working class deserves a city council who not only understands these challenges, but is ready to bring people together to build solutions. By working with the entire community, centering the needs of our workers and investing in our people, we can enact policies that address our challenges, strengthen working families, and unleash the potential of people across this great city. It's great to be with all of you tonight. Thank you to all of the Bangor voters for being here to ask questions to fellow candidates for office, to the League of Women Voters, and the Downtown Bangor Partnership for organizing, hosting, and facilitating this forum.
Stephen Farron.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Farron, and I am running for City Council because our community deserves ethical, accountable leadership that makes decisions with integrity and common sense. Over the past year, I've personally witnessed unethical behavior by some current council members and several from committees appointed by City Council. These actions have eroded public trust and diverted attention from the real issues facing our city. I believe it's time to restore honesty, transparency, and accountability in local government, and to ensure that every decision made truly serves the people who live here. I've lived and worked in Bangor for many years, and I take great pride in owning a historic home here. With over 30 years of experience in the construction industry and more than 15 years running my own business, I understand how to solve problems, manage projects, and work effectively with people of all backgrounds. As a local developer, I have transformed numerous properties that were condemned or nearing condemnation into some of the most desirable properties in the area, not only helping to beautify our city, but make their respective neighborhoods safer and more desirable to all who surround them. My career has taught me the importance of negotiation, clear communication, and fiscal responsibility, skills that are essential for sound local governance. I'm not running for personal gain or politics as usual. I'm running to bring back ethics, accountability, and common sense so we can build a city government that residents can trust and be proud of again. Thank you.
Mr. Perkins.
Hey, good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for having this event, allowing the candidates to be seen and heard by you voters. And I think this is a particularly important election, given the animosity and turbulence that's occurred in the City Council over the last year. I think if we get the right people in place, we can work on the city's business together and do that without animosity and disrespect. For a bit about me, I'm a retired Bangor businessman. I've lived in Bangor for over 20 years. I'm a college graduate with a degree in civil engineering. Most of my career has been in construction supervision and engineering. I ran a home services company for about 12 years right out of the city of Bangor. My wife and I love spending time with our family, traveling, camping, biking, working on the house and gardens, and volunteering. About 14 years ago, I was walking my dog up on the golf course in Bangor and ran into an old friend of mine who's active in community organizations. And she suggested I get involved in city government to have a lot of these boards and commissions that they need volunteers for. And since that time, I've been on the Board of Appeals, the Historic Preservation Commission, and currently I'm on the Planning Board. 4 of those years, I was the chairperson of the board. I've enjoyed that work, and I think we've been pretty successful with it. My wife and I have traveled to all 50 states in the United States, but still love coming home to Bangor. With its small town feel and its great assets, it's a fantastic place to live. I believe the City Council is a great place for me to finish doing the work I started in the other boards. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Ms. Walker.
Good evening. My name is Angela Walker. Excuse me. I am a woman in long-term recovery from substance use. Sorry, I'm an emotional speaker. Sorry. And I have experienced incarceration and homelessness firsthand. I lived in Bangor for 13 years, except for an 18-month period when I moved out of the area. My journey has led me to work in several local agencies specializing in peer support and recovery coaching. This is my first time running for public office, and I see it as a true learning experience. While there is much I don't know beyond my lived experience, I am open and willing to learn from others. I am running because I care deeply about 3 key issues in Bangor: homelessness, substance use and mental health, and public transportation, especially our community connector. Many services exist to address these challenges, but connecting the dots and securing funding is crucial. And while people often worry about tax impacts, most of these programs are funded through state contracts and grants. I look forward to working together to make Bangor a stronger, more compassionate community.
You. Cartier.
Justin? It's okay. My name's Justin Cartier. If you want them all. Is that better? My name's Justin Cartier. It's only by the grace of God that I'm a candidate here today for the Bangor City Council. And I thank you all for having me. I first moved to Bangor in 1984, 12 years old, and attended Garland Street Middle School. First thing I learned was that color is not spelt with a U. Although I learned the Queen's English, Mrs. Cornfield gave me a detention that day. I have a long storied history here in Bangor, some of it good, some of it bad. I'm sure you've heard all the bad things in the media. But I love this city. I visited 49 of the 50 states. I still have Alaska to get to. I've lived in 3 different countries, visited 29 of them. But I choose to call Bangor home. It's where my family is. My sister has 2 boys. One's at Husson College. The other one's a freshman at Hamden this year. It's been a real joy getting to watch them grow up these past few years. And yesterday, my first grandchild was due. She still hasn't joined us yet. So if I leave unexpectedly, you know why. But I'm thankful. It's like I said, it's only by the grace of God that I get to be here and try to earn your vote. You know, I've done a lot of different things in business. I've managed Walmart's, got Store of the Year for my region. I've managed C-stores here in Bangor, both on Broadway and on Main Street. I've managed auto parts stores. I currently run my own business. I'm a carpenter here in Bangor. I was a realtor for 10 years and worked for a young lady right in this room. And I'm so thankful for all those opportunities and all the learning I had, and all that experience is what I'm going to bring to this city. I think we really need to look at how the money is being spent. There has to be ways that we can save the taxpayers some money and get the streets safer than they are today. Thank you.
Susan Falloon.
Good evening. My name is Susan Falloon. Thank you so much for this opportunity, to the League of Women Voters and to all of you for being here tonight. We've got a pretty full house. I am running for Bangor City Council because I care deeply about this community, its people, its potential, all of its people, not just some of them. I think we're in a time of great political divide and turmoil at all levels of government. Unfortunately, some of it has trickled down locally, and I really want that to end so that we can move our great city forward in a more positive way. For nearly 30 years, I've worked in communications and public service, helping Mainers understand complicated matters that affect their daily lives, sometimes delivering tough messages like your electric bill's going up or we're in a disaster. So while working in the utilities industry and during my time at the Maine Emergency Management Agency, there I helped guide the state through the pandemic. We were the hub of the pandemic activity. I actually was the person behind the scenes for the briefings with Dr. Shaw and the CDC. And so we just helped coordinate these press briefings. And those experiences really taught me how critical it is to listen, to explain complex issues, to make thoughtful, transparent decisions that put people first. Bangor has so many great assets. I think a lot of times we tend to focus on the issues, and those are, of course, important too. But I think we really need to promote the positive aspects of our city a bit more. Yes, we do face challenges, and I recognize that. Housing that's out of reach for many families, homelessness, transportation challenges, and increasing property taxes. I will work hard for Bangor to make sure it's a safe, welcoming community for all, regardless of race, gender, and whatnot. And I thank you so much, and I would appreciate your vote on November 4th.
Thank you. Mr. Ward.
Hi, I'm Richard Ward. I'm running to bring common sense to Bangor. As far as I know, I'm the only candidate that will not take a penny to serve on the city council. I'm offering my service as a former volunteer work to give back to my city. I believe we can do more to address homelessness, mental health, and drug addiction and bring an overall better environment to Bangor. I spend a lot of time visiting soup kitchens and homeless shelters across the city and see the problems that people face firsthand. As someone who is low income and suffers with mental health, I know that it's like to be a regular person in Bangor. Our government should represent the people, not the establishment. With how our government process works, the only people who are able to run are people who have money or are retired. When speaking to people, they want to see people elected that actually have lived the life that so many are living. I ask you, do you value social virtue signaling more than helping the homeless? Do you value a pride flag or trans flag sidewalk more than veterans that are freezing in the cold? Do you put illegals over mentally ill American citizens that need mental health services? I see the working class and successful people being used by the government to front the bill for programs that offer little and no results. People are not mad that taxes are too high, but that their tax dollars are used for woke ideologies, such as DEI initiatives, paying for illegal, lavish lifestyles while homeless people die in the streets, and promoting LGBT mental illness degeneracy. Our country, state, and city has been hijacked by leftists that cheer for our deaths and failures. Why do we continue voting for those that offer nothing but hatred? I stand against bullies and view the far left as the biggest threat to us getting common sense actions done. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I see both sides have their problems. The right wing wants to cut services to the safety nets that keep people alive, and the left wants to prioritize woke ideology over people. I put God, America, and the Bill of Rights first. Every voice should be heard, and I welcome my supporters and opposition to tell me what should be done to help make Bangor a better place. So I'd appreciate your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Mr. Gallagher.
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to thank Barbara and the League of Women Voters of Bangor Area for hosting tonight's forum and giving us this opportunity to share our vision with for Bangor's future. My name is James Gallagher, and many of you know me as the owner of Bang & Whoopie and Salty Brick Market downtown. For the past 15 years, I've invested my life and energy into this city, not just as a business owner, but as a neighbor who believes deeply in Bangor's potential. Last December, we lost Salty Brick Market to a fire. Since then, I've spent months navigating insurance battles, rebuilding, and trying to keep my team and my spirit moving forward. But through it all, I learned something powerful about Bangor. We don't quit. When things get hard, we get to work. That experience, along with years of running businesses downtown, have given me the front row seat to both the heart and the hard truth of this city. I've seen the kindness of a community that shows up when someone's in need. But I've also seen the frustration when people feel unheard, when decisions are made behind closed doors, and when real problems are brushed aside instead of addressed. For the past 3 years, I've reached out to city officials, police, and fellow business owners asking for honest conversations about safety, transparency, and accountability downtown. I've been told to change my narrative, but I won't. Because the only way to fix something is to admit that it's broken. And I believe Bangor has the strength to fix it together. I'm running for city council because I believe in accountability, transparency, and action. I believe in supporting our small businesses, our first responders, and the people who make the city run every day. And I believe Bangor can move forward without putting more burden on the taxpayers, being more creative, more efficient, and more united in our approach. Bangor's best days are ahead, but it's going to take leaders who aren't afraid to tell the truth, to ask hard questions, and roll up their sleeves and get to work. That's the count of counselor I'll be, one who listens, one who stands up, and one who never forgets where I came from. Thank you.
And Ms. O'Neill.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Colleen O'Neill. Thank you all for being here and coming to this forum because it's a great crowd and I'm so happy that you're all here. My husband, Steve, and I have been married for over 32 years. I'm the mother of 2, a grandmother of 5, and love pretty much everything that crawls on 4 feet, including my 2 goofy dogs. We live over on the Westland Street, which really doesn't have a neighborhood name. Fairmont won't adopt us, so I guess we'll just have to figure that out on our own. So for over 30 years, my career has been in public service, first as a paramedic and then in emergency management, for which I retired in 2022 as a recovery chief. My husband and I could have chosen anywhere to move, and we chose Bangor to be our home. My educational background includes a Bachelor of Security Studies and Intelligence, and I also have a master's in Homeland Security. Bangor is at a crossroads that can no longer be ignored. We face serious problems like housing, homelessness, drugs, and rising taxes, and these need immediate action. And we also need immediate common sense solutions for business development, safer and cleaner neighborhoods, reducing crime, and better work environments. These quality of life issues, among many other, matter to me, and I promise to work tirelessly for the future of Bangor and its residents. Every problem is a part of the puzzle. Impactful change must be based on solid, hard facts, accountability, and transparency. I hope you vote for me on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As I said in the opening, each candidate got a question that they will now have 2 minutes to answer. The question is, what do you see as Bangor's greatest asset, and how can it be used to grow Bangor's economy? Mr. Farron.
The best asset of any small town are its people, its downtown, and its sense of place. A strong community spirit, a vibrant Main Street, and the natural beauty that surrounds it gives a town its character and strength. Local businesses, good schools, and safe, attractive neighborhoods make it a place where families want to stay and grow. Reliable infrastructure, public safety, and ethical local leadership help ensure progress is steady and sustainable. And perhaps most importantly, a small town's greatest asset is its identity, the history, culture, and shared pride that make it truly unique. Bangor's greatest asset is its downtown and its proximity to our beautiful waterfront location. The heart of our city and a reflection of who we are as a community. It's where people come together for business, entertainment, and culture. And it has the potential to drive growth throughout the entire region. As the third largest city in Maine, Bangor should be leading the way in creating initiatives that draw people here, not just to visit, but to invest, work, and build their lives. That means continuing to revitalize downtown, supporting local businesses, and making it a destination that attracts residents and visitors from across the state. We should encourage new business development in our historic downtown waterfront and work to make Bangor more business-friendly overall, while at the same time keeping crime low and maintaining the beauty and character that make our city special. To make all this happen, we need realistic goals and a clear plan. We can't just talk about economic development. We have to follow through, track progress, and hold ourselves accountable for results. With my business background and experience managing people and projects, I know how to set timelines, measure performance, and ensure that commitments are met. That kind of accountability and follow-through will help Bangor reach its full potential, making downtown and the waterfront vibrant, thriving centers of economic and community life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Colleen O'Neill.
If you ask Google what Bangor is known for, it pops up the iconic Paul Bunyan statue. Although it's quirky and fun, it's hardly a steady travel destination. If you look up the Queen City, it's hard to find a reference as to where that name came from. Additionally, there are 29 other cities in the US that call themselves the Queen City. We need to stand out and be original. The city needs to be rebranded to include the river, as the Penobscot River is our greatest asset. Although we have wonderful concerts on the riverfront, not everyone wants to attend a concert. So like your portfolio, we need to diversify. We can host scull racing, more canoe racing, kayak racing, more fishing tournaments. We can host an event with the Penobscot people, the namesake of the river in our county. Furthermore, we're not embracing our winter. I know we all hate it, but it's cold and it's wintry and it's nasty, but it's here. That's where we live. So we need to embrace it. So let's use that to our advantage. Imagine an outdoor skating rink in a tubing center with the river as a backdrop. A place where food trucks can benefit beyond the 3 or 4 months in the summer. A place where families can sit around a fire and enjoy hot cocoa and marshmallows. In other words, we need to get we need to open up our minds and our imagination. We need jobs and we need housing. Because the things I spoke of earlier are a stopgap. They can bring money immediately into the city of Bangor's economy. However, it only has so far and it won't go beyond that. If this city is to survive, we must be one of the other cities turn into incorporating change. We must be the change maker and the leader beyond the status quo. Status quo has not and will not work. We must rethink, rebrand, reinvigorate, and revitalize our city.
Thank you very much. Susan Falloon.
Thank you. This was a really tough question because I happen to think that Bangor has many assets, which is why it's been home to me for over 33 years. But what I'm going to say is that I think Bangor's greatest asset is our diversity in the arts and culture and how that helps attract and keep talented people right here in our community. For a city our size, it's pretty incredible, actually. We have a symphony orchestra, a professional theater company, a thriving music scene, a big arena, museums, an international airport, and a restaurant scene that rivals much larger cities. Those things don't just make Bangor a great place to visit, they make it a great place to live and work too. When a city offers music, art, theater, good food, and opportunity, it draws people who want to build their lives here. And we're already seeing that. We have 2 hospitals, we have local colleges and universities, and they attract doctors and professors and other professionals. And they could live anywhere in the world, but they choose Bangor because of its culture and its community. That creative energy also supports local jobs and small businesses, from restaurants and shops to the carpenters and the electricians and the designers who make events and venues possible. It keeps money circulating right here in the community. So I'd like to build on that strength by making sure that we have more housing so that the people who come to Bangor can stay here if they want to, and by improving transportation options for those who are here. When people can find a home they can afford and they can easily get to work and school or the arts, our entire community benefits. The arts aren't just about entertainment, they're about quality of life, and that keeps our economy going. And when people feel inspired, connected, and proud to call Bangor home, that's when our community thrives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gallagher.
Bangor's greatest asset is without a doubt our people. We have builders, dreamers, problem solvers, and neighbors who care deeply about this city. I see it every day. From folks keeping small businesses alive, to volunteers feeding families, to the people who show up even when things are tough. Bangor is full of talent and heart. What we need now is a city government that matches that energy. To grow our economy, we can't turn a blind eye to the challenges right in front of us. The storefront's still recovering, the safety concerns downtown, the frustration from residents who feel unheard. Real progress starts with honesty and accountability. We need to support the people who are already invested here by cutting red tape, helping small businesses grow, and creating opportunities for residents to build a future right here in Bangor. We also need to make Bangor a place where people want to stay. Safe, vibrant, and full of possibility. That means listening to the people living it every day, not just those sitting behind a desk. Our people are the foundation of Bangor's success. When we empower them, when we listen and work beside them, Bangor's best days won't just be ahead, they'll be right here, happening now. And I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work next to you, because together we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Perkins.
Yes, thank you. I believe that Bangor's greatest asset is its unique small town charm while still having big city assets and features. It's easy to run into a friend almost any time downtown, and you can get almost anywhere in town within 10 minutes or so. Yet we have great assets like the airport, the waterfront, concerts and art venues, colleges and universities, shops and restaurants. Some of the other folks have named some of the other great things that we have. I mean, it's amazing, really. Route 95 runs right through the city. We're an hour from the ocean, from mountains, and we have one of the greatest authors of all time with a home in Bangor. It's awesome. How do we use this to grow our economy? I believe we already are. Look back at Bangor 10 or 20 years ago, and you would see a great big difference. We've come a long way. What we really have to ask is, what barriers remain in the way of more growth, and how can we improve on that? To improve on the experience of visiting downtown, for example, we must clean up our streets and help the unhoused find a home. To allow adequate homes for all income levels, we must continue to work to resolve the housing crisis. Lastly, we must work together as citizens, business owners, and city government to find the solutions necessary to keep Bangor unique. An example is the continued effort to solve the Bangor Mall problem. We will only solve these problems by working together. I believe Bangor's small town charm is its best asset, and we can work together to keep it that way.
Thank you. Ms. Walker.
Thank you. When I think about Bangor's greatest asset, I don't think of just one building or business. I think of our people and the strong sense of community that we share. Bangor is a city where neighbors help neighbors, where small businesses are supported, and where creative ideas are welcome. That spirit of collaboration and resilience is what truly sets us apart. To grow Bangor's economy, we can tap into this community spirit by supporting our local entrepreneurs and investing in programs that train people for the jobs of tomorrow. By encouraging new businesses and helping existing ones expand, we can create better paying jobs right here at home. When we can also work to attract visitors and new residents by showcasing our vibrant art scenes, our beautiful parks where I take my 6 grandkids to, and our unique local events. If we focus on building up our people and our community, I believe Bangor's economy will thrive, not just for a few, but for all of us.
Thank you. Bangor's greatest asset is definitely its people. We're policemen, we're firefighters, we're educators, we're addicts, we're homeless. We're all of these things. And if we don't start helping the homeless and helping the addicts and fostering an attitude that is good for the small businessman and woman, how are we going to continue to grow this city and overcome problems like the mall? We're hemorrhaging businesses left and right. Seems like every week another restaurant is closing. There's a sign on Hammond Street that a business is moving across the river to Brewer, to the good side of the river, as I've heard it called. And I went to a Brewer City Council meeting to find out why they called it the good side of the river. And they said the one difference was that they enforced the law. That is why when you go over to Brewer, you don't have to feel uncomfortable. My wife is right now at a yoga class over in Brewer. That same yoga studio, Homeland, has a building right here in Bangor, and not a couple 100 feet from where we sit right now. But after dark, she doesn't feel comfortable being, a small woman walking by herself to a yoga class. And Bangor never used to be that way. And I think it can be that way again. But we as a community have to not accept that this is the way our city is. We as a community can work together so that we don't have to be homeless. I myself spent 5 weeks at that homeless shelter on Main Street. I drank myself into that situation and worked my way out of it. And it's only by the grace of God that I'm able to be here today and to talk to you about it. But I think we can work together as a community and come together to continue to foster our best asset, which is our people, the people of the city of Bangor. Thank you.
Well, I didn't get the questions beforehand, so I'm free-handing it tonight. But I think there's a lot of things that are assets to the city. For one, the concert pavilion's a great place. It brings a lot of tourists, a lot of people who enjoy the concerts. It's low cost in comparison to places like Portland and a much larger venue, so they can get better acts that perform there. The people of Bangor, we should be lucky that we do have a transportation system such as the bus, because there's other towns that are just slightly smaller that don't have a working bus station. But I do believe that we should have an improved bus transportation system with 7-day, full-day bus service. I believe that bus drivers deserve better pay, and transportation is a necessity for our city. I believe that Transportation through the bus service is an expense, but it's a necessity, not a luxury. And that it's worth funding and keeping going so people can go to work and people can go to doctor's appointments and elderly people can go and grocery shop. I see a lot of good restaurants in this city, and I see an opportunity for growth. If I was elected, I want to encourage businesses to open up and support small businesses. I believe in relaxing some housing laws and letting people investors put up micro apartments and small subsidized rooms for rent. I think that there'd be a lot of working poor and elderly and disabled people that could afford $300 or $400 or $500 a month for an all-included room, and it would get people a safe place to stay and off the streets. I see a lot of good churches in this town that do a lot for people, like the Mansion Church and the Brick Church and the Manna and Rock Church that offer soup. They have a soup kitchen and they house people throughout the wintertime and give people clothes. I see that we still have a safe environment in compared to other cities like Lewiston and Portland, and I don't want to see Bangor turn into one of those places. And I don't want to see housing investors like BlackRock and Vanguard buy up properties. I believe that property should be owned by private people and small-time landlords. Thank you.
Thank you. The people of Bangor, all of you, are our greatest asset, and we must buy into our community to grow our economy. So what does that look like? It looks like investing in education and lifelong learning, and leveraging our anchor institutions like colleges and universities, and partnering with small businesses to create opportunities and to continually upskill and to reskill our workforce. Let's retain and attract new people by promoting a high quality of life. That means affordable housing so that people can live where they work, which is an option that people are losing. And we do that by partnering with responsible local developers, of which there is no shortage of people ready and willing to step up. Our downtown and all of our neighborhoods must have the public services that they need to foster business development and be a gathering place for community and for events. And we must listen, actually listen to, and deliver on the needs of our business community and property owners. We must value our workers. By underpaying and undervaluing our public workers, we create uncompetitive jobs with high turnover that leads to workforce inefficiencies and waste money. We know that when we treat workers with respect and ensure that their wages reflect their needs, we can reduce that costly turnover, stabilize our workforce, build expertise, and create the institutional knowledge to increase efficiency and deliver results. And it's time that City Hall knows that too and takes action. Thank you.
To hire more drivers and restore the routes that have been suspended or cut.
Thank you for that question. I don't currently, I don't want to say I don't support funding, but I sense it's not necessary right away. My understanding is that ridership is light and that although drivers seem to want more benefits, their wages are already pretty competitive. I do understand, and I would want to verify that first, but that's what I understand. And I do understand that the cleanliness of the buses and that some of the riders are intimidating, and that is somewhat of a problem. And I think that should be addressed. I do think a good marketing program might do a lot to get more ridership on, where we can then take it from there. It's kind of the chicken before the egg type thing. Those are my thoughts on the bus system. Thank you.
I tend to agree with Mr. Perkins on that. I don't know enough about what funding is available, how it's being used correctly, and I think that's something we have to look into before we start to say we're just going to throw more money at something. Throwing money at an issue does not correct an issue. It just keeps an issue exacerbating and possibly even becoming worse. Let's look into the community connector and see where are the flaws? Where is the money going? What are the reasons it needs more funding? As Mr. Perkins said, if it's low ridership, how do we solve that? Encouraging more people to take the bus, more to use public transportation. Maybe one of the solutions to that is that it's available more often. That we have to look into, that we have to see all of the different options. But before we simply say we're going to throw money at something, that's not a solution. That's just exacerbating the problem. Thank you.
Our bus system is a lifeline for so many Bangor residents, workers, seniors, students, and families right here, and it's failing them. So yes, I do agree with funding it. When routes are cut and end early, it feels like entrapment for the people who rely on it to get to work, the grocery store, or even a doctor's appointment. Over the past month, I've been riding the buses myself, listening to riders and drivers, and the message is clear. They love their jobs and they care about this city, but they're stretched too thin. We need to value our bus drivers, make them full-time employees, give them fair pay and benefits, and treat them like the essential workers that they are. Without that, nothing else will improve. We also need stable, consistent routes, including Saturday service and limited Sunday service. Small steps like that will grow ridership, bring in more revenue, and rebuild trust in the system. This isn't just about transportation. It's about freedom, dignity, and opportunity for every Bangor resident. Thank you.
Yes, I agree with everything that the good candidate just shared. I've been in communication for quite some time with our bus drivers and with riders, and the reduction of service was painful to working people in this city. I talked to people who missed medical appointments. I talked to people who had to go to their bosses and to ask for new schedules so that they could continue doing their work. And I've talked to people right now who are thinking about whether or not they're going to plant their feet in Bangor and open businesses and join our workforce, who are considering not doing that because bus service does not meet their needs. Additionally, as I mentioned, I talked about turnover, which is something that we are experiencing in the buses, right? We need to get them to full time. We need to raise their pay so that they can contribute their expertise and move our system forward.
Before we're going to throw the money at the problem, I think we need to look at making some of those positions full-time. Some of the bus drivers I've spoken to said that the biggest obstacle they've had in getting more bus drivers is the fact that so many of the positions are only part-time. I'm sure there's ways we can coordinate finding that funding to make that happen. But why shouldn't they have an opportunity, like many of the other positions in the city that are full-time, that have those benefits that people so desperately need, like healthcare? So yes, I do support some of that funding, but I'm not just going to throw money at the problem to make it go away. I think we need to delve into it and look at areas that might need honing, whether that is looking at the cost for riding on the bus, and what we can do to promote using public transportation and making it cleaner if necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're all in agreement that maybe throwing money at the situation isn't necessarily the answer. So I would agree with that, and I wouldn't be opposed to putting money toward it if it were going to make sense. But I think before doing that, I think we would need to look at some efficiencies. Perhaps we could do a community survey to determine the need and what needs are not being met. Are there schedules that would be more helpful, evenings and weekends? And are there schedules that are maybe not getting the ridership that they should? And could we focus those resources elsewhere? Also, are there efficiencies that could be gained from using perhaps smaller buses when those buses aren't being filled up? Then perhaps we could use something smaller that would cost less. And then I would certainly want to look at how we could attract employees who would be able to fulfill those bus schedules as well.
Thank you. Remember a couple years back when the state said they wanted a mandate for electric vehicles, and then we had that big snowstorm and that wild cold snap and everyone realized that EV vehicles didn't work. Well, the city's still planning on having EV buses. So I think they should take that money from what they were planning on EV buses and hire full-time people for the bus routes, if that seems to be the issue with the bus routes. Now, every city needs transportation because there are many people who live without transportation themselves and they need the buses. But as many have stated, throwing money at an issue isn't going to help it. That seems to be a knee-jerk reaction of the city on many items. Throw the money, throw the money, throw the money. Don't look at what the problem is, just throw more money at it. And that's not working. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. When I first moved here, I had to rely on very heavily on using the community connector. It goes without any issues of anything else. Any other topic that we would talk about. Recently, I know that if we had full-time bus drivers, I think that would actually be very helpful. I do think that throwing money in any subject is not helpful. I think that more look into the funding and what it is now would be beneficial. And a strong plan of what it looks like to have the community connector running for 7 days a week, having bus drivers that are working 7 days a week and have an incentive to be there, whether that's benefits. I think that's a big thing. And that's it. Thank you.
As I said earlier, I believe the transportation system should be improved with full 7-day full day service. I think that bus drivers deserve better pay for the conditions they have to deal with. Like they have to deal with homeless people, they have to deal with older people, they have to deal with people going to work. Like they deal with a lot of different types of people in the community. Some are not always easy to get along with. And I think what I read online was their starting pay is about $21.50, $22 an hour. And I can kind of see why would somebody want to go through the CDL training, come work for the city as a part-time bus driver when they can make almost that much working at Walmart stocking shelves at night? So I fully support funding this transportation services. We pay for firefighters, police, and EMT, and I think we'd all agree that that's a necessity and not a luxury. And I think that bus drivers are a necessity as well. Thank you.
Next three questions, I tried to put them together, but I think there are enough different that I need to ask them as three questions. Oh, sorry, my microphone is not working. Okay, is this better? Okay. The first question is, what do you believe should be done specifically to address the issue of homelessness in Bangor? And Ms. Falloon, let's start with you.
Thank you for the question. Homelessness is a very complex issue, but it's not unsolvable. I think what we need to do is we need to look at cities that have success stories. Cities like Houston, they have reduced homelessness by more than 60% by what's called a housing first approach, getting people into stable housing quickly, then surrounding them with services that they need to stay there. Denver has seen some real success by pairing that model with some strong partnerships between city government, nonprofits, and outreach teams. So here in Bangor, I would like to build on those lessons. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. That means strengthening collaboration among the shelters, recovery services, mental health providers, housing agencies, and increasing access to supportive and affordable housing. Supportive services, and then using existing properties creatively as well. Thank you.
Mr. Gallagher.
Homelessness in Bangor is real and it's growing, but we can't keep addressing it with short-term fixes. I believe Bangor needs a city-run homeless shelter with true wraparound services, mental health, addiction, recovery, and job training, so we can help people rebuild their lives, not just survive another night. This facility would also strengthen Bangor public health by housing more robust outreach programs under one roof. And alongside it, we could create a community center open to everyone, a place that teaches life skills, connects people to career opportunities, and offers on-site job training. This approach isn't just about compassion. It's about accountability, recovery, and empowerment. When people have the support and tools to get back on their feet, the entire city benefits. Our neighborhoods, our businesses, and our economy. It's time Bangor leads with both heart and action. Thank you.
Mr. Cartier.
Mental health services is the answer to our homeless problem. I know for myself, the way I was able to work my way out of the homeless shelter on Main Street was through a program called the Intensive Outpatient Program at Acadia. That program now has 1,000-person wait list to get into. And that's part of the problem. We don't have the services that people need to overcome the underlying issues that present as homelessness and addiction. You know, it's so easy to get addicted to things today. You can go to the gas station and pick up, is it OH7? I don't even know the name of it. They're coming out with the drugs so fast now that they're legal. And you can pick them up at places they shouldn't be available in drink mixes. And people are getting hooked on those things. And if we don't help people take care of the underlying issues, it's just going to get worse. Thank you.
Mr. Carson.
Thank you. I agree with some of the points that have already been raised so far. I think specifically, we have a demonstrable lack of adequate shelter space across the city of Bangor. And so that is something that we have to focus on. Shelter space that, as has already been pointed out, right, has a holistic approach connected to a variety of services that help people in their various, complex stages of recovery and to help people move forward. It's about supporting the many organizations across the region who are already doing this work. It's about leveraging the existing regional framework that exists and continues to enhance our relationships across the region, because what's happening is not just a Bangor question, this is a regional question. And it's also about holding our state accountable to the funding that we need for these services, because everything that we do here in Bangor has positive impacts across the region, and our state knows that. It's positive for the state, and so we'll hold them accountable to that. Thank you.
I believe that we should be fully funding the nonprofits in our city that are housing, feeding, and clothing the most vulnerable. We can't let warming shelters close. We need to make sure the groups that supply care get the needed resources to keep people alive. I support the city helping with the redistribution of food waste and cutting food waste out and getting it to food pantries and soup kitchens. I live in town and have recently seen multiple elderly people, 70 years old, sleeping outdoors against my apartment building in benches. Elderly people shouldn't be abandoned and they shouldn't be tossed aside to fend for themselves on the streets. We should not accept refugees while we have elderly sleeping outside in the city. Many live on our streets desperate for food, shelter, and hope, yet we pour funds into programs that don't deliver. We should be offering housing, job training, and mental health support for the homeless. I'd like to see the city roll back red tape so that investors could build micro apartments and get people affordable housing for working class and poor people. Thank you.
The first thing I want to say about this is that our homeless friends are human beings. And I think that's part of, that could be part of the solution to the homeless situation here in Bangor. I feel like if you sit with them and you find out from them what it is that they think that would help them while they're here, while our friends are here. I'm super nervous, sorry. I think that this is very sensitive, but I think that we can come together. There's a lot of agencies, there's a lot of organizations that have a lot of great ideas. And like I had said in my introduction, it's about connecting those dots. And really, when they say wraparound services, is like, do they want the wraparound services? Some people choose to be homeless. And I think that's important that we realize that and that we listen. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I also believe that the housing first model is the only model that's really proven to work. What people don't understand is that a person on the streets typically costs the city roughly $200,000 to $300,000 a year. Housing itself is much less than that. So getting housing first is most important. Other services such as mental health services, substance abuse services should all be funded, and all should come directly after that to help those people stay in those homes and grow from there. We need to also talk about sister cities and towns that send homeless folks here, and that they need to share in the cost of those services, or they need to stop sending those people here. Finally, I believe communication is a big part of this problem. The problem that happens to people is when they walk on the street and they encounter a homeless person, they're not sure what to do. And we need to help people understand how they can reach out and help those folks and get them the services that we need. Thank you.
Thank you. There are many organizations in the city of Bangor who give charity to those who are addicted or homeless. But charity without accountability, continued charity without accountability, isn't charity, it's cruel. You're having people live in perpetual addiction. People are in perpetual down and out. It's not helping unless you take the basic premise of what brought them to be homeless. And if you're continually give, you are keeping people just above the time when they want to seek help. And that's cruel. That's a living hell for these people. So we'll discuss it in another question, I believe, because I only have 4 seconds.
Mr. Fair.
But much to what other people have said, which I don't need to repeat, I agree with the housing first approach. I also agree that homelessness in Bangor is very high compared to other areas. The reason for that is the fact that other towns do bring their homeless people here. Why do they do that? Because they have zero resources. Bangor cannot continue to just keep funding and funding for every other town. This is something that needs to be presented on a county level and even beyond that each town participates and funds it as much as Bangor does. We cannot be the only ones to continue to provide this funding for every other town. It is a known fact and documented that in a recent police chief meeting, they showed a video of Brewer and Orono police dropping people off on the other side of the bridge and telling them we don't have resources, but Bangor does. That's unfair to everybody in this town and everybody in this city. We do not deserve to carry the whole blunt of this situation. This is countywide, statewide, and nationwide. Thank you.
Mr. Ward, what is your specific plan to support unhoused Bangor residents this winter, especially with the closing of a warming shelter in the area?
Well, I just spoke about that, but as I'd say, I'd call for the city to fully support nonprofits that are housing people. I believe in offering incentives to maybe more churches, more nonprofits, anyone that wants to try to step up and help. The issue I have with things like the Main Street Shelter or the Hope House is I fully support what they do. It's just the operating cost is very high in comparison to what a place like the Brick Church or Mansion Church can do with the same amount of funds. So I'd like to try to see not so much about spending more money, but potentially redirecting money, finding ways to cut from other programs, not homelessness, but in general in city funds. If you could cut like 1% from the police budget, 1% from the school budget, that'd be a large amount of money when it all adds up, and you could do a lot through nonprofits where they have the volunteers that aren't being paid to do the work and are willing to do the work, and they already do a lot for so little that they have. Thank you.
Everyone deserves to be warm, to have a warm bed, to feel safe. And we need the warming stations in the city of Bangor. We have a homeless population. I don't want to see anyone out in the cold. Where the money's going to come from, I'm not sure. And I don't believe cutting police services or any service within the city to increase warming shelters is where we need to go. We need to find money to keep people warm, period. I don't know where that money is going to come from, but I don't want to see people out in the street. I don't want to see people cold. At the same time, You know, I would like to see people who are going to come into these warming stations get information on recovery and actually go to recovery. We have millions in opioid funds. Why aren't we using the opioid funds to put people into recovery?
Can you repeat the question?
What is your plan to support unhoused Bangor residents this winter with the closing of a warming shelter already?
I know that the shelter has said that they're closing, but the city did just approve that they were going to take $60,000. So at first, I would like to see how that money is going to be used before we figure out what we need to do for more funding for these individuals. I do hope that we rely on the nonprofits that are already doing it and not trying to create a new wheel in itself right now, as we have 2 weeks before or 3 weeks before November 15th when the shelter needs to be open. So I really hope that we rely on the nonprofits that didn't get that funding and work with them already before we try and give it to new people. Thank you.
Ms. Walker?
Yes, I just want to piggyback on that about the city offering funds and applications coming in to help with the warming centers this winter. I think that that's a great start. I think supporting each of us can help support our local warming centers by volunteering our time, volunteering donations, coming in, helping. I saw a list the other day about helping making meals. Just really putting our community first when it comes to the winter, to our unhoused friends, making sure that everyone has a bed, a nice warm bed, meal. I think that as Bangor, we could come together and really help out. Like I said, volunteering is a big thing so that we wouldn't have to use some of that funding. And support our local nonprofits that are offering the warming centers. Thank you.
I think a better question than what are the 9 of us here planning to do about homelessness that is in this winter is what has city council done to this point so that we are not sitting here today answering a question that could have been answered in the summer. I think for me, I see it as we need to, one person here mentioned how Bangor is a great place where neighbors help neighbors. I think this is now a situation where we have to start asking our neighbors, which are other towns and cities that are part of the community connector, what can they do? What services can they offer? Can they offer warming shelters? Do they have anywhere that people could go to stay warm for the winter? Let's find out who our neighbors are and who our friends are and allies, so we know later what we can do. And then at some point, yes, we're going to have to determine what can we do. But right now, for the 9 of us here, it's an impossible question to answer.
I think we need to continue to support Pastor Terry Dinkins. Hopefully the Brick Church will be able to get some of this funding, the $60,000 that was presented at last night's workshop and city council meeting. And I think Councilman Maller brought up a great point about how perhaps the city could better run a situation with that kind of funding. I think they're all questions that, like Mr. Farron mentioned, we should be discussing earlier in the year, but here we are, we're discussing them now and we're going to deal with them. And let's dig into it. Let's see what we need to do. I think the first thing we need to do for the addicts out there is not take away their gift of desperation, which every addict needs to make that choice for a more healthy lifestyle and to stop and put the shovel down and stop digging a hole. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Good question. I do agree that some of the warming shelters have closed. I believe it was 2, not just 1 recently, but I know they're all kind of on the edge. I think the city does need to step in and help support them when they need to be supported. But it's not the solution to the problem, as others have said. And we need to make sure that we fix the problem. And that's going to take some time. Thank you.
Ms. Bloom?
Well, as others have mentioned, winter is just about upon us. So we need a quick fix. And I was encouraged to see that the city is issuing an RFP for $60,000. And I think we're going to have to rely on some of those agencies that have the infrastructure in place already. And so hopefully some of those centers that were not going to open will be able to do so this winter. But we need to look at a long-term approach, because we can't, I fear we'll find ourselves in this situation in years to come. And so I think that we need to look at putting some money toward something that's going to be longstanding, that's not going to be just dependent on donations or whatnot. And I think we need to look at the other municipalities who are bringing folks here and ask for them to help out as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carson.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, we saw that the difficulty with the brick church with the loss of the RFP, and it's been very welcome to me that the city has moved some money from general assistance to help that accomplish. These warming centers are important. They save lives, and not just people's lives who are already out in the streets, but when the storm comes and the boiler goes out and the electricity's out on my street for 4 or so days, these warming centers are available for all of us so that we can have a place to go. So it's not just, again, about the city providing funding, but this, the state, the region needs to be held accountable to this, and our state needs to get involved in answering this question to make sure that we have the warming centers available for the people who are outside now and for all of us when we need that space.
Thank you. This is a long question. The sweep of Camp Hope approximately a year ago was clearly not the solution to the housing crisis that City Council hoped it would be. Against all advice, the council dismantled a group of people self-organizing and making the best play of a lousy hand. We, the city of Bangor, loosed an HIV outbreak on neighboring communities, and at last known count, the number of people who ended up housed was equal to the number of people who ended up in jail. It costs over $100,000 a year to incarcerate a single person in Maine, a cost we both absorbed as Bangor residents and also pushed into neighboring communities in Penobscot County. As economic turmoil doesn't appear to be disappearing anytime soon, will candidates try to shift city policy towards allowing people to self-organize with the aid of groups who are trying to administer help and health and safety resources to our unhoused neighbors? So Neil, let's start with you.
Wow, that's a lot to unwind. So I'm not even sure how to, I'm not sure how to answer that question. That's a statement. So if we can dial it down a little bit and maybe take some points off of it, then I would be more than, ask a question by diving into that. And
the question was, do we allow the group that was working continue to work? The group of self-organizing people that were part of the tent city that was taken away.
Okay, so you're asking if the individuals who worked at Tent City in making Tent City and supplying,
trying to find in answering the aid that the group needs.
okay, and that you want them, so you want self-help groups to continue?
Yes.
Is that the question? Okay. Wow. So my answer would be no. It's obviously it was, the Camp Hope was torn down because of the continued responses of the police department out there, the drug usage out there, the violent crime that continued at Camp Hope. They had no choice but to tear it down because there were fires out there. There were people with weapons out there. There were rapes. There were assaults constantly. The police were sent out there. So no, it wasn't a safe place for anybody. And if that's their guideline for working with the homeless, then they got it all wrong. No, I don't believe that that group should be in charge of anything to do with the homeless.
We've now made her answer this question, but I am willing to withdraw the question if the candidates, okay. Let's move on to another topic. This one, Mr. Gallagher, let's start with you. What is your stance on ICE in Bangor?
This is a very heated question. I was at the Monday meeting. There's really no control we have over ICE here. We have to believe in our staff, our city staff that work for the city manager and the council. And when they say that they're not going to work with them, then we have to believe them. If we enter into an agreement that puts a target on our back, but also it tells our staff that we don't trust them to do their job that we hired them to do. So, no, I do not.
Mr. Perkins.
Yeah, that's fairly straightforward for me. I don't support the Bangor City Police working with ICE either as things occur right now. If if ICE changed its program so that they were in uniform and they, faces were shown and they had names on their uniforms and so forth, then maybe we could talk a little bit differently about that. But the way the situation is right now, no.
Ms. Walker.
I'm not very familiar with being asked a question like this. I also would say no. I am not in favor of people coming into our city and taking people and not be identified who they are and just coming in. I did read and did see from a state representative that saw what happened at a local restaurant here, and I was mortified. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you.
Mr. Carson.
No. Taking Bangor police away from the important work that they are doing across our city and having them to be doing the work of a federal agency is not an appropriate way for our police to be engaging. And in fact, I think it even works against them because it changes the relationship that they have across the community. And those relationships they build are actually an important part of law enforcement.
Thank you. Ms. Falloon.
I'm actually appalled at what's happening with ICE across the nation. And so I absolutely would not support the Bangor Police Department or the city partnering with ICE in any way. And I actually, had I been on the council last night when that resolve was presented, even though I understand that some people think that we could use something stronger, I think that that would have sent a strong message that the council supports our immigrants who are contributing locally and that we will stand with them. So I would have supported that, and I absolutely do not support working with ICE. And I do agree that that would take our police away from, the duties that they already are here to do. Yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you.
Ward.
Okay, from my understanding, this partnership with ICE in the city would be that if someone was arrested by local police, that they would turn their information over to federal agents. If that is the case, then I fully support Bangor working with ICE to keep our city safe and clean. How many lives must we lose to drug overdoses brought in by illegals? How many people must be raped by invaders that state has brought in to replace us? Does your mother, father, brother, or sister have to be killed by third world invaders before you say enough is enough? It's not hate to want peace. It's not bigotry to want safety. Thank you.
Mr. Gallagher. Oh, I asked you already. Sorry. Mr. Carter, Cartier.
Cartier. Like the French explorer, Jacques was my 22nd great grandfather. Cartier, yes. Cartier. Tomato, tomato. I support Mark Hathaway, our chief of police, and the great men and women of the Bangor Police Department. They've done so much to help keep the city safe and to clean it up. Having a beat cop downtown again has made a difference from what I've heard from some of the business owners. We still have a ways to go. And I trust Mark Hathaway when he tells us that he's not going to get into any agreements with ICE. He's not looking to get into any agreements with ICE. He's not seeking any agreements with ICE, and ICE is not asking for any agreements from him. I think this is a very political question. And it's a shame that it's something we have to focus on so much. I understand that there's many ICE officers that are not doing their duties as anyone would want them to, myself included. And that is really a shame. But I think that is the issue we should focus on with this issue is getting the bad men and women out of ICE, or the bad leadership of that agency. But I trust our police department here in Bangor. Thank you.
Mr. Farren.
I agree a lot with what Mr. Cartier just said. Bangor Police does not need to be involved with ICE. ICE is a force right now that we as a small city cannot necessarily stop. That is a federal issue, a political issue, a national issue. The Bangor Police need to focus on taking care of each of us as they do, protecting us, responding to the things that they've always responded to, and focus on that. Caring for anyone that's here, whether you be an American, a non-American, legal or illegal. Their job is to, as first responders, is to respond and make sure that everyone is safe. And that is really all they need to be focused on. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. O'Neill.
I believe it was in 2003 that the federal law was passed that created ICE. So if someone is against ICE and the laws and the ways, the federal laws that they are following, the jobs that they are doing, then please vote. You know, you sitting over here, we can't change federal laws, but you can change federal laws by voting. As far as the city goes, the city of Bangor Police and ICE did not even talk about an agreement. That was something that came up as an as if. If it's not politically charged enough, why do we need an as if? However, if the Bangor Police did ask to be utilized by ICE, I would say yes. Because telling one police agency not to help another police agency is dangerous for everybody.
Thank you. This may be the last question. Oh yeah, this is the last question. Let's start with Mr. Perkins. What do you think that the city government does particularly well? And what is one specific policy you would like to see enacted if you're elected to council to make the city better?
Wow. Okay. I'm probably going to be different than everyone else on this one. You know what? When I thought about this evening, one of the things that I knew would come up is taxes and where we are with taxes and what people want to do with taxes. And I actually believe that the city overall is doing a good job governing itself. I don't think there is an unusual amount of waste in the city. People need to understand that the government, just by nature, does things different than businesses do. We require more quotes on supplies and services. We require more reviews on things that we do. And all of that takes time and takes energy and sometimes wastes money that we wish wasn't wasted. But nonetheless, it's what we require as the citizens to keep our people accountable that work for us. And so I think really in essence that the city is doing a great job. I'm running out of time. What's a good change to policy? I really think it's not a policy thing, but I think people just need to work together better.
Mr. Fair.
You repeat the question. Thank you.
What do you think that the city government is doing particularly well? And what specific policy would you like to see enacted if you're elected that would make the city better?
My microphone's not on. The city has done very well in revitalizing the downtown over the past 10, 20 years. As was mentioned earlier, that it was nearly a ghost town here. What can they do better? Of course, it's spending. It's making sure that things are spent correctly. Things are done efficiently and on time. We have Pickering Square that has been talked about for 8 years, was supposed to be done so we could all enjoy it this summer. It is not done. These are things that government doesn't understand. You need a business person to set timelines, guidelines, and hold other people accountable to be sure that things are done on time, on budget. And that's it.
Oh, that's a tough question. Seeing how the city council is in Bangor, it feels like it's really hard to see what they are doing that is good. It seems like they're constantly infighting with each other. And if elected, I would demand that the real problems are fixed, like the homelessness, and defend the working poor, and small businesses should come first. So I think really what matters is the people that come to these meetings. Like, I would encourage more people to show up on both sides of the spectrum and let their voice be heard. Thank you.
Mr. Carson.
Yes. Something the city does extremely well is, and I agree that it's the revitalization over the last decade of downtown. I think the city does a great job of being a partner to the Downtown Bangor Partnership. Of course, I think it could also do a better job. And although this isn't a specific policy change, what I do notice across city government are inefficiencies that are created by a lack of streamlining of processes, and a lot of focus on individual sort of questions at a time. And what I think we ought to do in the city is to work with all of our departments to create processes that allow those departments to be effective at their missions while having the guardrails in place of oversight.
Mr. Gallagher.
I think Bangor city government does a lot of things well, especially how dedicated many of our city employees are, from public works to our first responders and teams at City Hall. There are a lot of hardworking people behind the scenes who care deeply about this community and keep it running every day. Where we can do better is in transparency and communication. Too often, decisions are made without bringing residents and small business owners to the table early enough. The policy I'd like to see is that strengthens connection, a community accountability policy where city departments share real-time updates, invite feedback before major changes, and show residents where their tax dollars are going. Bangor's greatest strength is its people, and the more we involve them in how city operates, the stronger and more successful we'll be. Thank you.
So Neil.
So I believe it was in 2023 when the legislature passed a law telling the municipalities that they could remove the cap of what they could charge for taxes. So it was essentially carte blanche of what the municipalities could charge. The city's going to want to tell you that it's because we haven't done this in 40 years. So, but if it was such dire need, why wasn't the reevaluation done 15 years, 10 years ago, 5 years ago? So there needs to be better transparency with the city, because I don't believe the city was telling the citizens the truth on why they wanted this reevaluation. They wanted the reevaluation because the state legislature said they could do it, just like all these other communities around here have suddenly done a reevaluation. As far as what the city does well, I got to give kudos to the Parks and Recs. I think they do an absolute fabulous job keeping the parks clean and mowed and looking fabulous.
Justin.
Thank you. I appreciate the question tonight. We definitely have a lot of great people working for the city of Bangor, and that is really its greatest strength and where our greatest asset is. Some of the things we need to improve is the streamlining of processes, whether, we watch the arduous process Mr. Farron had to go through to get his certificate of appropriateness to change his slate roof when there were no professionals available to do that job. While, so many of the other houses were getting improved all around him, and it was just an unfair process that needs to be streamlined, and there needs to be some guidance for some of these committees that the city council is entrusting for their guidance. We also need to look at some of our building codes and permitting processes. There's a lot of builders that won't build in this city because of the arduous process that we have here. Thank you.
Some people might disagree with me on this one, but I think that our city does a great job of keeping us safe. I know that there has been a lot of talk about crime that takes place in Bangor, and but we don't have a lot of violent crime. And I have lived in Bangor for 33 years, and I have always felt safe. And our fire department does a great job as well. So I think that's definitely something that we do a really good job with here. As far as what we could do better, and what I would like to see passed is that perhaps the city and the council could do a better job of communicating what is happening and being more transparent. I think people get frustrated with city government often because they don't know what is happening and they don't understand the processes. So I think that's where we could improve. Thank you.
Ms. Walker.
I think that like with anything, a group of people or like the city can always come together and pick out what the issues are and what the problem are. I think that as long as I've lived here, I've come to some of the meetings here and have felt like city officials, Bangor Police Department, and several other things that can't come to my mind, is that people come to be part of the solution. And I think that's really huge for any city. And Bangor is no less. Like we come together and we want to be part of the solution and what can help us be a better community. I think that with great communication across the board, transparency with city council members, I think that we're going to continue to improve our city. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now it's time for 1 minute wrap up from each of the candidates. Ms. Falloon, let's start with you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity tonight. I truly appreciate it. I have lived in Bangor for 33 years. I have worked here. I have volunteered. I have raised my children here. They have attended schools in Bangor. And I truly believe that we have a great city. My communications experience has helped Mainers understand complicated matters that affect their daily lives. And I've learned that good leadership starts with listening and collaboration and clear communication. And that's exactly what I will bring to City Hall. I want Bangor to be a city where people can find affordable housing, good jobs, reliable transportation, and a true sense of belonging, no matter their background or circumstance. I would be honored to earn your vote on November 4th. And let's keep building a Bangor that works for everyone. Thank you.
I'm not running to represent my own beliefs, but to give a voice to people that are voiceless. When elected, I will serve all the people and give a different perspective. I believe that Bangor needs someone who isn't tunnel vision and doesn't mind being a lone voice for the silenced. I'm the only candidate that will say what's true regardless if some people's feelings are hurt. I ask you, do you value the social virtue signaling more than helping the homeless? Do you value pride flags and trans sidewalks over veterans freezing to death? If you value people over politics, vote for me. Thank you.
I am proud to be running a campaign for city council centered around the needs of our working people, all of you. And I've been honored to receive support, endorsements from the Eastern Maine Labor Council and the American Postal Workers, the United Auto Workers, and AFSCME 926 at Bangor Public Works. I've spoken to local businesses, to landlords, to property developers, first responders, and social workers. People are tired of ineffectiveness, dysfunction, and are demanding a city council of action. And what strikes me and continues to strike me in this process of talking to people is that with every meeting, people continue to reach out and continue to offer their ideas about how we can make Bangor even better. By working with the entire community and centering the needs of our workers, investing in our people, we will enact policies that address our challenges, strengthen working families, and unleash our full potential. It's great to be here with all of you this evening, and your voice matters. Vote on November 4th.
Thank you. Ms. Walker.
As I sit before you tonight, I want you to know that connecting the dots between our community's challenges and solutions is not just a goal, it's my promise. When I am elected to the Bangor City Council, I will be a strong, unwavering voice for our residents. I pledge to bring your concerns to the table and work tirelessly to turn conversations into action. I won't just talk about change, I will lead it, ensuring that we move beyond words to real progress. For the things I don't know, I will dedicate myself to learning and researching so I can help Bangor implement thoughtful budgets, transparent financial reporting, and clear, honest communication. I believe that communication is the foundation for trust and effective governance. And I am committed to making sure every voice is heard. Thank you for believing in this vision and for your vote on November 4th. Together, we can build a stronger, more connected Bangor.
Thank you. Mr. Cardy.
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for having us tonight and the people of the city of Bangor for coming out. I ask for your vote this November 4th. I'm going to close quickly with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. The ultimate weakness of violence is that it is a descending spiral, begetting the very thing that it seeks to destroy. Instead of diminishing evil, it multiplies it. Through violence, you may murder the liar, but you cannot murder the lie, nor establish the truth. Through violence, you may murder the hater, but you do not murder the hate. In fact, violence merely increases the hate. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. I love you, Bangor. May God bless your soul.
Yes, again, thank you to the League of Women Voters, but I also like to thank the other candidates for being here tonight. Doesn't really matter that we agree. It matters that you care, and clearly you guys do. As I said previously, I think we need to tone down the divisiveness in the city council and work on getting things done. With such differing opinions, this is not easy, but we all love Bangor, and I think we can overcome those differences. In my view, we particularly need to work on housing and homelessness, and we didn't talk enough about that tonight. I would finally like to thank the voters because you care about the government that we are, and it's why you are here, and I hope you will take away with you a better knowledge of us candidates. As a candidate with years of experience working on the city's boards and commissions, I believe I can serve you well. The city council works for you.
Thank you.
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters and everyone who came out tonight. I'm running for city council because I love this city, even with all of its challenges. And I know what Bangor can be when we face those challenges head on. I'm not here to play politics. I'm here to roll up my sleeves, listen, and get things done. I've seen what happens when people lose faith in their city, and I've also seen how quickly hope returns when someone finally listens. That's the kind of leadership I'll bring: honest, accountability, and unafraid to act. Bangor's best days aren't a slogan, they're a goal, and together we're going to build them. And I'll leave you with this statement about Bangor Mall, because I wish we talked about that more. But the Bangor Mall isn't a ghost town. It's a sleeping giant, and it's time we wake it up. Thank you.
Well, I apologize that my beginning sounds a little bit repetitive now, but I would also like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, both of you for moderating. And I also want to thank everyone here tonight for taking the time to listen, to stay informed, and to care about the future of our city. Together, as we continue making common sense more common, we can keep Bangor strong, accountable, and moving forward. I look forward to serving each and every resident of Bangor with fairness, honesty, and a sense of pride and obligation to each of you. As a Bangor City Councilor, I promise to conduct myself ethically and truthfully so I may do my very best to represent each and every one of you and ensure all of your voices are heard and act in the best interest of all residents. With both a moral and fiscal responsibility to the city I will be representing. Thank you all for your time.
So Neil.
All right, save the best for last, like I said. So I created my election website and called it bringbangorback.com. The reason is, in speaking to the citizens, they want Bangor back to pre-COVID. Lower taxes, lower crime, lower drug activity, and lower homelessness. but I think we can even make it better than pre-COVID. The city is my home, but this city is in trouble. The city can't continue to throw money at problems and expect it to miraculously just go away. There has to be a plan, an aggressive, comprehensive plan before it's too late, and not a written plan that sits on a shelf and collects dust. We have an aging population, so who will garner the majority of the property taxes? Since this population has basically remained the same since the 70s, we need to bring younger people in, younger professionals. Vote for me for change, vote for me for transparency, and vote for me to begin the process of a better Bangor. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
She started putting her thing. I was like, but I'm at this on a minute 30.